In this video, we're going to find the average rate of change over a specified interval. What we need to remember is that the term average rate of change is simply another word for the slope. So we're going to be using the slope formula for this problem. Find the average rate of change on the interval specified for real numbers b. So our first example has a variable as part of our interval. The process is the same whether it's all numbers or not. So the first thing I'm going to do, because this is an interval of an x value to another x value. So this is our domain, not a coordinate point, because you'll notice the square brackets. So I'm going to start with plugging -3 in for x, and then I'm going to calculate what y would be, because remember that f of x is simply another way of saying y equals. So let's go ahead and do the arithmetic here. -3 times -3. So I'm going to get that to be +9 plus 7, 16. So my first point pairs x of -3 to y of 16. Now the second one, the x value is b. So what I'm really doing is this, -3, plug b in for x, plus 7. So I end up with -3b plus 7 is the y coordinate. So my second point, x is b, y is -3b plus 7. Now I simply apply the slope formula. So I'm going to take the difference in y's. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the second point. It does not matter which one. So I'm going to take -3b plus 7 minus the y value of the first point, which is 16. Over the difference in x's. Now since I started with the second point, I need to start with the second point on the x's. So b minus -3. Again, making sure that you don't lose your negative when you're doing subtraction. So this simplifies to -3b minus 9 over, and then b minus -3 becomes b plus 3 because you're adding the opposite. And now I'm going to factor the numerator. I'm going to take a -3 out. So if I divide each term by -3, I end up with -3 times, parenthesis b plus 3, over the quantity b plus 3 on the denominator. These reduce to 1, and my answer is -3. Now, since I happen to use a linear equation or a linear function on this example, I can check myself because it is in y equals mx plus b form. But when you're asked to show the work, this is what you need to do. Now I'm going to have you try one. Find the average rate of change on the interval specified for real numbers b. The function is 2x minus 3 on the interval of 5 to b. Pause the video, try this example, then restart the video to see your solution. Let's try this one. So if you started, you would have started with the 5, which is right here, as my first x value. So again, f of x is simply y equals, plug in 5 for x. I now have 10 minus 3, which is equal to 7. So my first point is 5, 7. Second point, the x value is b. So I take the 2, change the b for x, minus 3. So my y value for b is 2b minus 3. So my second point, b, 2b minus 3. Again, now I'm going to use the slope formula. So I'm going to take the y value of 2b minus 3 and subtract the y value 7 over the difference in x's, which I will start with b minus 5. Simplification, the numerator becomes 2b minus 10 over b minus 5. I'm going to go ahead and factor 2 from the numerator. Dividing both terms by 2, I get b minus 5, which just happens to match with my denominator expression. So they're dividing by themselves, which equals 1, and 2 times 1 is 2. Good job. In this next example, we're going to find the average rate of change over an interval that contains real numbers. The process is going to be exactly the same. I'm going to start with my domain here first with -1 as the first x value. So 7 times substitute in -1 plus 1 and do the arithmetic. -7 plus 1 is equal to 6. -6. So my first point is -1, comma, -6. That's my coordinate point. So I use the correct parentheses. The end interval is 5. So we take 7 times x becomes 5 plus 1. And so we do the arithmetic. We get 35 plus 1, or 36. So now our second interval is made up of x is 5, y is 36. Now, using the slope formula, I'm going to take the difference in y's, so in my case 36 minus -6, again, I'll put parentheses to kind of demonstrate, don't lose the negative sign, over my difference in x's, and since I started with the second point, I do the same thing on the x, so 5 minus -1. So 36 minus -6, adding the opposite is 36 plus 6, so 42. 5 minus -1, or 5 plus 1, is 6. So reduce 42 over 6. My average rate of change is 7. Now let's have you try a problem. Pause the video, try the problem yourself, then restart the video and check your solution against mine. Let's see how you did. So we're going to start by taking our domain. We'll start with 0 as our x. -4 times 0 plus 5. Well, -4 times 0 is 0. So our y is 5. So 0, comma 5 is our first coordinate point. Next one, -4, plug in 6 for x, add 5, -24 plus 5, we have -19. So our second coordinate point is 6, comma -19. Now, we're going to do difference in y's over difference in x's, and to demonstrate that you do not always have to use the second point as your x2, y2, I'm going to start with the first point. So I'm going to take my difference in y's, which is 5 minus -19, over 0 minus 6. So at the end I get 5 minus -19, or 5 plus 19, which is 24, divided by -6. So my answer in the end is going to be a slope, or average rate of change, of -4. Congratulations.